Welcome back to Realize Displays training. This video is also for our enterprise level clients because we'll be going through the admin settings that allow you to change the channels of your players and also monitor them and send IDs to them, basically for overall player management of your overall display network. So let's get into it. Let's click right on the Players button on the right side of your admin panel. Now we're inside one of our current customer accounts right here. So what we're looking at right now is a list of all of the registered players within the network. Now this happens to be a university, so they have two different campuses divided into different categories. Now if you remember, a player is just simply a player box that is connected to a TV or any number of TVs if you're using audio-video splitters. Most of the time you have one player box per TV, and in that case, when you look at all of your registered players down here, you can easily see which displays are online, which displays are currently offline, and also what channel they are currently playing. So this is your status at a glance of how your network is doing. Now you can also do some admin activities here as well, which is if you'd like to edit some of the settings, we can click that in just a second. You can choose to reload the content of this player with the reload button. If you need to identify which player is which while you're in the field, you can use this identify button. So if you were going to go and you forget which TV is specifically assigned which player box, clicking this identify will then send the player information to that TV so that a status message will show up on the TV with the player's name and information. So thereby you know which one is which. Now when I click edit here, when I can change the name of the player. Most often your Realize Displays player boxes will have some sort of a letter number association with them. And then it's up to our clients, or if we know exactly where the players are going to go, to name them properly depending on where they're going to be within your facility or organization. Now that I have this specific player that I'm editing, I can change the channel on it. So when I click the channel, I can see every dashboard and every channel inside of each dashboard. Now, as you know, a single player can only play one channel with a little asterisk by it unless you use those channel mix-ins, which in case if you were going to use those interrupts from your corporate main dashboard, check out our channels video to learn how to do that. But for the most part, every single dashboard has a channel on it and they need to be assigned to a player. Categories are something you can create to keep your player lists organized. They have no functionality within the playback, but simply in the list, they will allow you to keep your player box separated for, like in this case, where you have two different campuses. Your time zones of your player boxes, this is important because if you do have locations that are in different states or different time zones, you can set the specific time zone of that player box right here to ensure that your scheduling and everything follows suit for the correct time. And then activity monitors we'll get to in just a second. Let's go back to our players list. And in your main list, you'll now see your categories. At the very bottom is where you can add a category. Now, when you add a category, that will allow you to create a segmented section of the screen where you can place player boxes. So click the Add Category button. We'll call it New Category for testing. And now we will save this. And here you will see our new category appears. And if I were to edit any of these existing players, I can now select it from the drop-down to move the player into that category list. Here is where you can edit the name of it, or you can simply delete the category if you no longer need it. Now, let's look at one of the other options that also has to do with our players, which is the active screens. When you click on active screens, it will basically send out a poll of all of the screens that are currently showing inactive. This screen will update about every 60 seconds, as it says down here. Now, again, you can also see the start time and the player and the channel, as well as the resolution and the browser level that they are showing. But also this is mostly important for you if you want to see how many of your active realized subscriptions are left. In this case, there are 10 player subscriptions being used out of the allowed 12. So if you were going to register more players or you bought excess licenses, this is where you would be able to see how many you have left. Now let's move on to active monitors. Now, active monitors are an extremely important new feature recently released that will allow you to receive email alerts for when a player goes down. So if we go ahead and create an active monitor by clicking Add, we're going to be given a chance to enter a name and an email. So let's just say Alex Test, and then we'll put in my own email address here. And then for this monitoring, what we can do is select the players that we would specifically like to pay attention to. So if any of these players go offline, we would like someone to be notified. Now, the great thing about this is since they are categorized, if I did have, let's say, different IT folks or admins in each campus, I could only select maybe one of the campuses to go to one specific email and then create another activity monitor for the other campus so that the other person who's on site could monitor those displays. So this is an excellent tool if you're going to make sure that the health of all of your displays is working properly. When I click Next, another great feature about the monitoring is that it allows you to set your schedule. So when you set a schedule for the monitoring, you're basically setting the monitoring hours that you would like this to pay attention to. So by adding this planning rule, you can set a start date and an expiration date of how long you might want to monitor your players for. Most often, you'll just leave these blank. And then, for example, if you have a business that's not open on weekends, maybe you don't need to monitor the status of the players on the weekends, and you'd only like to make sure that they are absolutely working during the weekdays between these times. So if you were going to close at a specific time, maybe you don't want to monitor if you have power issues, internet issues. As long as they work themselves out by the morning, then you'll be totally fine so that your monitoring can start between a certain active hours of your day. So let's leave this and click OK. And that's all we need to do. We can go back to our activity monitors. We see that we have one of them created. I could certainly create another one for that second group of displays. And now when I click back into my players list, I will see that the activity monitors column is filled with which activity monitor I'm paying attention to. So if you literally wanted to set each specific dashboard or set each specific group maybe by department so that only the department heads receive notices for their own displays, you could certainly do that for every single one and create an activity monitor for every single display or a couple of displays, depending on who is watching over them. So I can either click directly into the name to view the activity monitor information, or the nice thing is anytime if I want, instead of going through the activity monitor page, I could maybe select and edit a specific player and now select under the activity monitor dropdown that I want this specific player to follow that Alex Test activity monitor. So how the monitoring actually works is it checks all of your displays that are within the date range and time range that you set in the schedule every 10 minutes to see if they are online or not. If they happen to go offline, it will then send you an email. Now, the nice thing is let's say that you are monitoring a player that is going to be maybe down for a while, or you know it's going to be down for maybe a day or two. This is a example of what the email will look like when it comes in. So it's going to give you a player offline in the subject line, and then it's going to basically allow you to mute this alert for 8 or 24 full hours. So let's say you are aware of this, you don't want to get notified anymore, click one of these buttons, and then you will turn off or mute the alerts for that specific time period. So that is an overview of how you can manage all of your players. And probably one of the most important pieces is just to remember how to change the channels on each of your players. Let's say you want to move a player to a new location. That's perfectly fine. Most of the time, all you'll need to do is click this edit button, change the name so you know exactly where it is located within your facility, and then click the drop down to the new channel and click save, and boom, now you have just sent the new channel and relocated your player successfully. And also change your category if you happen to change where it is and how you have it organized. And the last thing you'll notice is that there is a register new player on the top. Most of the time you don't need to worry about this at all. If you're adding new players, almost always we will be notified and we take care of the registration, which involves just setting up a code that is a default code that shows on your display, and giving it a name, and then selecting the channel. So most often, this is handled by us, and all you'll need to worry about within your network is making sure that your displays are working well and the right information is going to the right places. As always, talk to your Realize project assistant or me if you would like any help, or if you would like some assistance for your activity monitors or anything else regarding the management of your displays. I hope you've enjoyed these training sessions, and we'll talk to you soon. Have a great day.